In 1944, the skies over Europe burned. Every sunrise meant another mission. Hundreds of bombers, each one carrying 10 men, 10 stories, 10 chances at survival, lifted off into thin air, knowing that many would never return. This is the story of one of those missions, a real operation flown by the men of the U.S. 8th Air Force. Their aircraft, B-17 Flying Fortresses and B-24 Liberators, were America's long arm in the war against Nazi Germany. What they faced in those skies defies imagination. This is the Air War in color. Number 1, the call to briefing. It's early morning, June 1944. England is gray and cold. A fog rolls over the airfields of East Anglia. The smell of coffee, fuel, and cigarette smoke fills the air. Inside a dimly lit briefing hall, crews shuffle in, some half awake, others already tense. A big map hangs on the wall. Red yarn traces a path deep into Germany. Then the operations officer steps forward and pulls the curtain off the target board. The words draw an audible gasp. Synthetic oil plant, Meersburg. Every man in the room knows what that means. Meersburg, protected by some of the heaviest flak defenses in Europe. It's a death run. They had a saying in the 8th Air Force: if you lived to see the target, you were halfway home. But in 1944, even halfway was a miracle. Number 2, the Air Armada. Outside, the airfield comes alive. Ground crews work in silence, tightening bolts, checking propellers, loading bombs, 500-pounders, 1,000-pounders, even incendiaries. Each B-17 carries about 8,000 pounds of bombs and enough fuel to reach Germany and back. Their engines, 4 Roaring Wright Cyclone R-1820s, are tested to the limit. Nearby, B-24 Liberators, sleeker, faster, and more fragile, line up in neat rows. Their twin tails gleam in the rising sun. At the height of the war, more than 1,000 bombers could take to the air in a single day. It was a sight so vast, so thunderous, that even German civilians would stop and stare. An entire sky filled with American bombers. Crews suit up. Oxygen masks, flak vests, and heated flight suits. They carry Lucky Charms, photographs, coins, letters. Every man has his ritual. Some kiss the fuselage before climbing aboard. Number 3, takeoff. Pilote to crew, start engines. Smoke pours from the exhausts as each engine coughs to life. The ground vibrates. One by one, the bombers taxi to the runway, lumbering under their weight. To watch a B-17 takeoff was to watch pure power in motion. Each aircraft was a fortress of aluminum and fire, capable of flying 2,000 miles and braving temperatures below -40 degrees Celsius. At 0700 hours, the formation lifts off. They form up over the English countryside, dozens, then hundreds, then an endless line of silver wings glinting in the sun. From above, they look invincible. But inside, every man knows how fragile life really is. Number 4, the long flight. As the bombers climb toward 20,000 feet, the world outside turns silent and white. Ice forms on the windows. Oxygen hisses through masks. The intercom crackles. Nobody talks much up here. Every man's thinking about home. They had to fly for hours before reaching enemy territory. The engines droned endlessly. The gunners scanned the sky. And every vibration, every strange sound could be a warning of death. The navigator checks his charts. The radio operator listens for coded signals. The waist gunners stare into the blue void, their hands on their .50 caliber machine guns. The pilots fly on instruments, their eyes tired but focused. Throttle steady, formation tight, keep your spacing. Number 5, crossing the coast. Suddenly, a flash. Flak, 11 o'clock low. Black clouds of exploding shells fill the sky. The aircraft shudders as shrapnel tears through aluminum. When they crossed the French and Belgian coasts, the German guns opened up. Thousands of 88mm shells fired into the sky, creating a wall of steel and smoke. The bombers had to fly straight through it. A B-24 off the right wing takes a direct hit. Fire engulfs its wing. The crew bails out, tiny parachutes drifting in the smoke. The formation tightens. There's no time to stop. In the cockpit of one B-17, the co-pilot whispers, "That could be us next." The pilot nods, eyes locked ahead. Number 6, the enemy above. They're 20 minutes from the target when the call comes over the NUT radio. Bandits. Bandits at 2 o'clock high. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf 109s. D from the sun, their cannons blazing. The bombers' gunners open fire, tracers arcing through the sky. The air turns into chaos shrapnel, bullets, vapor trails. A P-51 Mustang escort screams past, chasing a German fighter. In those few minutes, the air war was a knife fight in the clouds. The bombers couldn't maneuver. They had to fly straight, holding formation while enemy fighters sliced through their ranks. A tail gunner yells, "I got one, he's smoking," but before he can celebrate, another shell hits nearby. The vibration knocks him against the fuselage. The smell of cordite and hydraulic fluid fills the air. Number 7. The bomb run. The navigator's voice cuts through the chaos. Plut 2 minutes to target. Open bomb bay doors. The freezing wind rushes through the fuselage. The bombardier crawls into the nose, his eyes glued to the Norden bomb sight, a secret weapon that could drop a bomb within 100 feet of its mark. Once the doors were open, the aircraft became lighter, more vulnerable. Every gun on the ground below aimed for the bombers. They had to hold steady, no turning, no weaving, until every bomb was released. Bombs away. The plane jolts upward as thousands of pounds of explosives fall toward the earth. Below, the oil refineries and rail yards of Merseburg erupt in fire and smoke. Photographic aircraft fly behind, capturing the devastation. But the Germans aren't done. The flak intensifies. Another B-17 takes a hit to the right wing. It breaks apart mid-air. The pilot of our story's aircraft calls out, "Hang on, boys, we're heading home." Number 8, the long way back. The return journey is worse. Engines are sputtering. Fuel gauges drop. Wounded men bleed quietly in the fuselage. One bomber limps along with a feathered propeller. Another flies with half its tail missing. They had to cross hundreds of miles of hostile territory before reaching the English Channel. Every minute felt like an hour. Every sound felt like a warning. A waist gunner helps a wounded crewmate, wrapping a bandage around his leg. The radio operator sends an SOS. "Mayday, mayday, this is Fortress 231, engine 2 out. Hydraulics failing, no response, just static." But still they fly on. Number 9, the coast of England. Hours later, the gray outline of the English coastline appears. The relief is overwhelming. The radio fills with chatter, joy, exhaustion, disbelief. For those who survived, the sight of England meant life. For others, it was a dream they'd never see again. 17 touches down hard on the runway. Its landing gear wobbles, one tire bursts, but it stays upright. Fire crews rush in. The pilot cuts the engines. Silence fills the cockpit. For the first time all day, nobody moves. Then, one by one, the men climb out, faces blackened, eyes hollow. They made it. Number 10, counting the cost. That night, the operations board is updated. Out of 300 bombers launched, 42 are missing. Dozens more return damaged. Hundreds of airmen are dead, missing, or prisoners of war. Yet the oil plant at Merseburg is destroyed. The mission is marked as successful. For every target hit, there was a price. By the end of the war, the 8th Air Force alone had lost more men than the entire US Marine Corps. And they were young, most barely 20 years old. Some had flown 25 missions, others only one. But every man who took to the skies knew the odds and went anyway. Number 11, the legacy. After the war, many B-17s and B-24s were scrapped. The world moved on to jets and missiles, but those who flew them never forgot. They remembered the cold, the fear, the friendships formed in the thin air over Europe. They remembered the sound of those 4 engines, the feeling of helplessness as flak burst around them, and the sight of home appearing through the clouds. The air war was more than bombs and fire. It was courage, sacrifice, and the will to endure when everything seemed lost. The color may have faded from the film reels, but not from memory. When you see those old bombers flying today, remember, they are not just machines. They are ghosts of another time. Every rivet, every scar tells a story of the men who never came home. Those words capture something sacred about the legacy of the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator. These aircraft, now preserved in museums or flown at air shows, are more than polished relics of metal and rivets. They are the last living witnesses of a generation that fought, suffered, and sacrificed in the skies over Europe and the Pacific. Each aircraft once thundered across enemy lines, braving flak and fighters at 20,000 feet. Their engines roared with determination, their fuselages shuddered with fear, and their crews, barely men, often still teenagers, faced death every time they took off. The B-17 and B-24 B-24 symbolized America's industrial might and the unyielding courage of its young airmen. The Flying Fortress, with its reputation for bringing crews home even when riddled with holes, became a legend. The Liberator, with its longer range and higher speed, carried the war deeper into the enemy's heart. The contrails have long since vanished, but the memory of what happened up there, the thunder of flak, the flash of gunfire, the determination of those who kept flying, still lingers. This was the air war in color, in fire, and in blood. It was the crucible where courage met catastrophe, and where freedom was carried not by words, but by wings.